calling it the hole and everything. And it was, man, I know there's people in there much longer. And I know my experience was not that terrible. But I mean, it, it was bad. And
Yeah,
that's the whole thing. It was bad enough 5 days, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
And
so what I'm understanding is you're saying that they put you in there because they say that it was safer than being in general population.
at first, that's what
But
they
what I'm
said. And what
hearing,
it was is they just didn't want to put the time, energy, maybe money, whatever, into figuring it out. Because
uh,
because there wasn't their option, clearly. Because, you know, after 5 days, I'm losing it, man. You
yeah,
know, and at night everybody's, you know, making bird noises and stuff. And by the fifth night, I'm about to start joining them. And I, just crying and stuff. And I like, man, you gotta get me the fuck out of here. I mean, this is I can't. I'm, I can't do it. And there was like the one guard, and he's like, oh, okay, well, let me see what I can do. And like 10 minutes later, they come back and they're like, okay, we got you, a medical pod. Um, so that, I mean, that was cool. Don't know why they didn't do that in the first place. Um,
right.
but it's a jacked up thing, man. I mean, I saw like outside of my own like experience with the hole or whatever. There's this
Hmm.
the way they. I mean, it's disturbing. Like this one guy, we got a vending machine in there.
Hmm.
Got stuck, and he kicked it like 3 times to get it to work. They come and say he's got to go to the hole for 15 days because of that. He
Because he
gets
kicked
out.
the vending machine.
What?
Because he kicked the vending machine.
Because he kicked the vending machine. But what's disgusting is that 2 days later, somebody's thing gets stuck again in the vending machine. Guard comes around to help him. He does exactly the same thing. The guard does. Kicks the
Yeah.
vending machine, laughs about it. I hate
Wow.
that shit. And I mean, that's just not. I mean, you can't. They so lackadaisically throw somebody, you know, into an environment that's. I mean, statistically evidence to be traumatizing.
Right,
And
right, right.
but it's not something that affected them one way or another. I mean, they weren't offended by it. They do it too. It's just a control thing, and I don't really know. I don't know what good it does. Do you?
I don't. I think you said it right. It's a control thing. But what I wanted to ask you, man, is if you could share maybe some specifics about the conditions that you encountered that made you say, things were not right there. Things that
Beyond just you going beyond just solitary?
well, in solitary or beyond solitary, but
Well, the
particularly
big
with the
thing,
solitary.
yeah. So from the get go, um, they had jumpsuits there, which is standard, obviously.
Hmm.
But I mean, they could tell, when I was getting dressed and stuff, I couldn't get it on by myself, and
Hmm.
sure shit couldn't get it off by myself, and I didn't, first couple of days I couldn't have gone to the bathroom if I wanted to, I mean, I just was, but you
Wow.
know, started to, have to, and I asked them because like, is there any way you guys have like a two-piece thing, I can wear or something, and uh, he's like, the one guy's like, yeah, a few years ago we stopped using them, but I'm sure we got some somewhere, and yeah, I'll look for them. It's awesome.
Hmm.
I can't tell you 2 or 3 times, probably more than that, because every shift change, I feel like I would ask a different person. They'd say the same thing. I'd check on it. Nothing happened. I mean,
Hmm.
nothing. And it's like, man, I was, well, and you know what? My mother, and my mother caught up there after a while. After probably 20 days or something, saying, "Hey, man, not saying he should get any special privileges or whatever, but he should be able to be able to use the restroom in a way that's like, at least do that,
Right.
and the same guy that said the first time to me that he'd find some said, yeah, I couldn't never find any, but I guess I could order some, but it didn't do anything. I mean, nothing came from that. And what did come from it though was that evening when they brought medicine around, the nurse just handed me Miralax. I'm like, that's not the issue. I don't need a laxative.
Right.
Like, just the most bizarre. And that's another thing, man. They, uh, the whole medicine thing's terrible. Actually,
Hmm.
man, this may be, well, as far as solitary goes, I know that's what you're, um, I mean, it's just, there's nothing, I mean, you have nothing in there. I mean, you have nothing, they leave the lights on all the time. And,
24 hours a day.
yeah, and it's a 23 and a half hour lockdown.
And so the lights were on all day, or did they turn
All day
them off at some
they
point?
dim them, they dimmed them.
Okay. So
But
what was your daily routine like during those 23 and a half hours in solitary? What did you do?
uh, tried to sleep as much as possible.
Hmm.
Um, and I wake up and it just felt like I know it's you know uh, not literally happening, but it felt like the walls were closing in on me. It felt like I'd
Yeah.
never get out of there. Nobody
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
And I know that there've been people. I guess they said the policy there is they can't keep you in solitary for more than 30 days.
Okay.
But on the 31st day, they can pop you back in for another 30.
So they can there for first take you out for a couple of days and put you back in if they wanted to. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know if
Wow.
it's policy, I don't know if it's law, whatever.
Yeah, there's all these loopholes they use to get around these things. And what county jail were you in? I forget.
Wilkes County.
Wilkes County, yeah. And you were in there for how long?
I was in there for 30 days, pending extradition to Dane County of Wisconsin.
Wow. So they had you in solitary though, or isolation for 5 days, and then they put you in a medical pod.
Yeah, and they knew because the way they talked about it when they were taking me back there, they're like trying to, act like, oh yeah, this is the place to be, And then
Yeah,
I get out and they're all like, I mean, it's like a threat and a joke. It's the whole. It's not.
yeah.
So it's
What were
uh,
the physical conditions like in there in the solitary wing?
well, and that's another thing. If they were actually concerned with my safety, they would have thought about the fact that I mean, there was no kind of like bars or anything. Like oh my gosh, what's the word? Uh, Nothing for me to transfer anywhere. Well, oh my gosh, what's the bars? I blanked on the word.
Bars is
um,
good enough.
yeah, and
Gate
it
or
was just
something.
a disgust, like smell like pee in there. I mean, it smelled like
Yeah,
pee. I mean, that's just kind of just generally how it smelled.
yeah.
Uh, just toilet right beside your head when you're sleeping. No, I mean, just like a shelf for a bunk, essentially. I mean, it's a bunk. They
Yeah.
don't give you anything. They gave
When
me
you say
stuff when I
don't
got out of there.
when you say they don't give you anything in solitary, what do you mean?
Well, they didn't give me, uh, you know, bedroll or anything.
Oh wow. So you didn't have a mattress?
Not for the first 5 days, which I think,
Wow.
you know, that must have been just the policy for solitary, and you know, the individual, I guess, deputies or whatever they aren't gonna question anything.
Right. And so they're treating you like everyone else. And clearly they were putting you in there for what they said was protection or a medical issue, but yet they're treating you like you're in there being punished. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and so, but even that, man, as punishment, like I, I don't understand. Nothing. Nobody that I saw get sent there did anything that would just be
Say
like
that again?
what? to the hole, yeah, to solitary confinement. I didn't see anybody get sent there that had done anything. Like, really, I mean, there was one. I guess the most troubling instance
Yeah.
was what? What's that?
Yeah, yeah, you had froze. You had froze, so you were in and out. So I missed a lot of what you said.
Oh, okay. Well, the most troubling, I guess, instance, there was this guy apparently on Saturday, like first Saturday of the month, he kind of cut everybody, take clippers. They give him clippers and kind of like, cut everybody's hair and stuff. And I guess
Yeah.
generally speaking, they have, our door, because once I got out of solitary, we had our own cells and then a day room, and
Hmm.
they'd keep. I guess previously they'd keep those doors open. So you could kind of like, wipe off and stuff when, in between cutting hair. And I guess they closed them, and he was, after a time got kind of frustrated about it, but nothing that wasn't like, I don't know, man, it wasn't even that much of a thing. And
Hmm.
he's talking to him over the intercom and expressing his frustration because I mean, all they had to do was open the door. And
Hmm.
then three of them, I don't think they're called deputies, the officers or whatever,
Yeah.
come down, and they're all like, just like, I mean, you can tell they're gonna do something. They're gonna,
Hmm.
and there's like, I don't know, I don't remember how they started it, but it wasn't like in any kind of de-escalating the situation kind of way. And
Right.
then he, I mean, the guy's just saying, kind of fast, but I mean, he's not being an asshole or anything. He's just saying, hey, this is my issue. And he's like, I mean, I do this every Saturday, and the guy tells him, he's like, well, how about you don't have to worry about that anymore. And they slam him up against the wall. And he's like, I mean, it's stupid. There's no, it's all three of them, three big, you know, uh, I think the term obese would be appropriate. And, he's like half of me, I mean, it's just so stupid. And he's in there for, I don't know, 10 days or something. Just dumb.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, I just don't understand that as a punishment. I mean, it's cruel.
Right. And jail in and of itself is punishment. But what I'm
Yeah,
hearing is
yeah,
that not only were you punished by going to jail, but once you were in there, you were subjected to further abuse. That's what I'm hearing from you.
yeah. And
Yeah. Did you tell me this? And I'm sorry to cut you off, Clint, but
no, go ahead.
I wanted to hear you if there was more that you can say about feeling like you were going to lose it. Because I know you talked about maybe the walls were closing in. You said after 5 days you couldn't do it no more. Like, can you elaborate on your emotional and psychological challenges during those 5 days?
I can try. I do
Mhm.
know that. I mean, I've felt just in the time since then. Part of me blocks out. You can't act. When you experience something that's so sucky, you kind of. But I do know. I mean, it was just a sense of dread that I've not experienced before, and it didn't. I mean, now granted, I've never spent any time in jail before that. At the
Right.
same time, it was not. It what didn't correlate with my concerns about being in jail. It was just an unquenchable, like, I mean, just terror that I was going to be there forever. And maybe that's not
Mm.
rational, but I was going to be in that spot. And they give you 30 minutes to, well, you can call your mom if you are able to figure out the phone. You can take a shower, and it's like, man, I mean, it was not a, it's just crazy, man. And I'm not doing a good job of explaining it, but it was,
It's crazy.
yeah.
Ain't no
I
two
mean, you're
ways
treated
about
like an
it, bro.
animal. It's like you're an animal.
Mm, mm. You know, this is not the first time I've heard that expression. They treat you like an animal. I'm a survivor of solitary confinement myself.
I
I
I
spent
I, I
two,
saw that.
yeah, and so that resonates so heavy with me, what you just said. So I understand it. It seems like the people that perpetuate these systems don't get it. And even they who run the system, especially the solitary confinement systems, they become animalistic in and of themselves, you know?
So, and there's something to that. I think, man, like I was reading actually about the conditions of the Dane County jail because that was a different kind of bad. But just I was reading some complaints stuff they had, but it wasn't the complaints weren't necessarily about the conditions. It's about how you could be having a heart attack or something. They only come by every 2 hours. They don't come in the room. I mean, or come in the cell or the pod. I guess they kind of just walk by
Mhm.
the pod there. And I was just, somebody had, I guess, sued them for some kind of, I don't know, some kind of a criminal neglect or something.
Yeah.
And the guy was, I guess, the representative from the jail or whatever was like, yeah, we really need to get that new jail built. And I guess the dude's wife was like, it's not a jail problem, it's a people problem. I mean, not in terms of it's not a facility thing. It
Right.
is and that that's as true as I think I like. It is so strange how every single even the guards that like seem like I don't know maybe decent enough people when you say something to them they can they hear you, right? But it's like they need you to like say it multiple times, and then it's like you're bothering them. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
they're
I
looking
do.
around like how what like, and it's not just me, it's everybody.
Yeah.
It's like they I don't know that they do it on purpose. The whole Stanford prison experiment thing, but I mean it's why, and it's not just the guard, the nurse there, man. This was particularly disturbing. There's this guy there. I mean, again, it's like a medical pod, so we all got still something going on. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what his deal was, but he had some kind of. He was telling me about it, and they didn't give. He was been there for 2 days, and they hadn't given him like any of his like 15 medicines he takes.
Mhm.
Um, and then by the third day, they didn't come. Like I guess they'd approved it, his medicines,
Mhm.
but the medicines are supposed to come at 8 o'clock. They didn't come till 8 o'clock in the morning. She didn't come till 4 p.m.
Wow.
And
Wow.
he's at that point, man. I mean, and it's not like ambiguous. He's not trying to get out anything. I can see him. His limbs are turning purple, and he's like
Oh,
falling out. And no, and nobody's doing anything. I mean, which is whatever. I mean, but I can only do so much like physically, but I'm trying to see what I can do. And the nurse is there when like she's getting there as that's happening. She's out there talking to the other pod across, like right across the hall. And I like bang on the window. I'm like, dude, hey, like he needs he needs help. And I know they can hear me, and like him or her and the guard, they're just looking at me and like they're saying something, like kind of like rolling their eyes and stuff. And they finally like meander over there, and he's like very much like, I mean, it looks like he's about to pass out
mm,
on the ground. Um, and the nurse starts getting out. We're at the front, in front of the med pass booth, and she starts taking out my medicine for me. And I'm like, I'm what? Like, I mean, it's just like he needs attention, and
yeah,
she's like,
man.
he's fine.
Mm.
Anyway, man, it just proceed. I mean, it's
That's
just
all traumatic. That's all
it's not. I mean,
traumatic. Yeah. Tell me this: did you get any medical attention or support while you were in solitary confinement?
no, no. I mean, it didn't actually. I didn't get any medical attention. Period. Um, I mean, I didn't.
I'm
I
sorry to
mean,
hear that.
yeah. I mean, they didn't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I didn't really necessarily ask for, but so much. But
Right.
I mean, I gave them all my health information. They actually, one point, said they were going to send me to like, that's what they call central prison or whatever in Raleigh.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's the judge just had to sign off on something, I guess, to wait for extradition, but they never did. But no, I mean nothing. I mean, so I was only in Wisconsin for maybe about, and no, it's like 12 days. But I mean,
so your experience was pretty fast.
Yeah, but within like 5 days being there, I mean, I saw, a nurse. The next day I saw a doctor, at least kind of like get an idea of what I've got going on. And they also, what's bizarre too, you've got Medicaid. I come in there, I've got, I think, 12 medicines I have to take, and 2 of them are narcotics. But I mean, I didn't anticipate, I figured they'd find one reason or another to not give me those in there, which is fine. I mean, I had no disillusions about that. But the rest are, just regular medicine. And I think they gave me maybe 6 of them. I think 6 or 7.
So you didn't get your full
No.
pharmaceutical regimen.
No, and they're like, well, the doctor didn't approve it, or we don't give that here. And I mean, it was like stuff like when I'm like Flexeril, which is like, a muscle relaxer that's not like, it doesn't do anything to you. I mean, it's not a controlled substance.
Right.
Just like the most crappy. I mean, I don't understand like how they can just, you're not taking them for fun. You sure should not take them for fun.
Right.
It's like bizarre.
So let me ask you this, bro. So a couple questions I have, but one is like, after you got out of jail, how did you find out about in solitary NC?
So when I was, as I was like getting excited about getting out, when I've been bottled down and stuff, I started to have some kind of like, I guess, a little bit of guilt because, there's a few other guys in there. One dude was like 81, really having some memory issues and stuff. And I felt bad that he was, I guess, whatever the, not survivor's guilt, but you know what I'm saying? Like, just, and, I just was thinking like, it'd be real easy, I guess, to like try to just block all this out and not think about it and not like, but I at least can try to say something to somebody, try to like, it just felt wrong to not, I guess, if that makes sense. So I started, looking stuff up. I don't know. It's just bizarre that it's just like anything they do, any kind of concessions they make to just, to me, just general humane practice is lip service, Stuff that,
just lip service.
What?
Just lip service, nothing actually done. Wow.
Yeah. And
so
yeah.
So what I'm thinking, what changes would you like to see, or you hope to see in the system after sharing your experience? Like, what would you like to see happen, man?
Well, so as far as solitary goes, I'm going to take it a step further. The whole suicide watch thing they have.
Yeah.
In what world? I mean, I feel like bare minimum. I mean, somebody's suicidal. Somebody's experiencing such psychological distress that they're feeling suicidal, and you put them in this little thing where you got nothing but a hole to shit in, and the lights are bright the whole time apparently, and somebody's coming in every hour to ask how you're doing and stuff, and I mean that's not how. I mean, nobody who has any kind of knowledge or expertise as far as psychology, psychiatry, or whatever would think, oh, okay, yeah, this is the thing to do. I get that, it's a keeping them safe thing, but I mean and I guess that's the whole thing is they're doing. It's like punishment that when the punishment is going to make them less well adjusted, it's going to be more. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely does. It exacerbates their situation.
Yeah, and just keep them there. Keep them there
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. It makes
See?
total sense what you're saying, man. So
And
what do you
so I'd
think?
like to see that bare minimum, not a thing. That'd be cool because that's very troubling, man. And
Yeah.
but solitary in general, I mean, it's got to be. I mean, I mean, I feel like the obvious stuff. You know, a bedroll.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
if you got to do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Say the
I did
least,
see
right?
something. I guess on the it's interesting. I think I read your whole thing on a Scalawag magazine.
Yeah.
One of my friends is like or was like an editor for them. But anyway, in that article it was saying uh something about maybe having keeping more of a record of who's been solitary, how long, and like so it's not just like a knee jerk. That's the way I understood it. Like I mean, and I think there's something to be said for that. And I don't see why
Absolutely.
that wouldn't be able to be done bare minimum.
Absolutely.
Um, again, this is just I guess I'm just thinking what I see is like realistically, but
Yeah.
obviously I think there's more. I don't think it should. I mean, you can. I mean, the way our day room thing was set up, we had doors that locked, and we had um, the day room. To me, punishment enough to lock somebody in there. They can still see out, still see the TV and stuff, but they're. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, what do you want to see happen? I'm curious.
I think some of the things that you're talking about are right on in line with what I think. Humane treatment, first and foremost. If people are going to be in these situations, they should be treated more humanely, should have access to programming, medical care, psychological care. If they're going to be in there, they shouldn't be in there, for 23 hours a day. Those types of things are what I'm thinking about. And ultimately, I would like to see the whole system of solitary confinement abolished, and find some sort of alternatives for it. But specifically for people such as yourself who are, in a wheelchair, who have unique medical needs, I think that those needs need to be addressed. Going to jail or prison shouldn't be a death sentence, which it is for so many people, man. You know.
Well, and but I mean, even still, that's the whole thing. I mean, it's just the easiest thing to do was to put me in there. It's kind of like
Mhm.
washing their hands of having to think about it or deal with it. And it's the same with anybody else, just a different
Yeah.
reason.
What do you think should have been done different
With
by the
me,
system? Yeah, for you, not you doing it, but for the system. Since you're in there, what could they have done differently to treat you more humanely? You as
I mean, really, just like I mean, I suppose there's limitations within the facility itself, but I mean, well, I mean, at bare minimum, I think they ask the questions they got to ask. You have this stuff, and they could see what was going on because they could see they didn't know what was going on. They didn't know what to other than just they could see I was in a wheelchair, and I mean, I think just like it all starts with you know treating you like a person, and from there, and that whether that's part of policy, whether it's you know starting with that, and then I feel like that just opens it up. I mean, they didn't for one, I guess I mean, really, okay, if they showed any concern for one about the fact that I was extremely uncomfortable because I hadn't taken a dump for like 20 days.
mm,
Like I mean, I was like in pain. Like I mean,
yeah,
uh, and just the sheer. I don't know if it was a joke. I don't know if they were being assholes or just an evidence of like they can't care to actually use their brains and think that the issue was not that I needed to take a laxative. And that
right,
was more insult. It's just that we're not people. We're people to be. I mean, we're creatures in there to be placated, but reminded, kind of arbitrarily, that we are not in control.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when I got out, I was so excited to get out.
Of course.
And I mean, again, it's not like I did hard time or anything by any means, but I get out and a few days go by and, it just, it sucked in there, man. It just sucks to,
Yes,
you
sir.
know, and it didn't, but what sucked about it really was, I mean, I don't expect, I mean, just, again, just being treated like a person, obviously
Yeah.
it is a correctional facility, but,
Right.
um, and I don't understand how so many people, and I was looking at some statistics, more and more, you've got people awaiting trial, for a long time in jail, which, uh, now I think, didn't you say you had served in prison?
Yeah.
Now that's generally speaking a little bit more of a, um, like a, jail is more of like a, and what, I mean, is prison, like, I guess the idea that it's more of like a livable, at least somewhat, like you can go outside.
Yeah, to some degree, I guess, and we can put that in there somewhat. You'll
Yeah,
hear people say, I can't wait to go upstate. I can't wait to get out of this jail and
yeah,
go to
yeah,
prison. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's still inhumane treatment, and
yeah, yeah.
especially, the
Same stuff.
solitary confinement living. But one of the things that happens in prison, if you're not in solitary, people typically get to go outside at some point, get some sunlight and some fresh air, maybe even some grass, you know,
Well,
these
that's the,
things that we take for granted.
well, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I didn't see the sun for, I mean, just 30 days, but man, I mean, that's not cool. I mean, and like, I just don't think, it's bizarre to me. You could have people who, the whole innocent until proven guilty thing. They're serving time before it's
Yep. And
even like, and it's like, and if you can pay a bond, if you have the, uh, whether you see it as good fortune or whatever, if you have the money to pay a bond, they'll let you out.
right.
Depending on the situation. Otherwise, you're stuck there, man. And like, that's bizarre that in this country, that's like, I mean, it's asinine. Like, that's, a different thing, I suppose. But
It's a ransom system, though.
it is what
It's
it
like
is.
ransom. But yeah, it's different, but it's in the same pool, which is, people are being dehumanized, people are being mistreated based on where they come from, their abilities or inabilities, and then their lack of financial resources. It seems like people are given value when they have money and when they are fully able-bodied. Other than that, people tend to be otherized continually. We find increasing numbers of people in jails and prisons who have physiological as well as psychological disabilities. So,
Oh yeah,
physical and psychological disabilities are being criminalized, bro.
yeah. They don't do any kind of
Simply.
triage. They're not like, okay, well, this is where you should be. It's actually in Wisconsin. Man, it's so stupid. Getting there, they put you in the bullpen or whatever they call it, and then you see the nurse, and then you see there's this there's these two mental health. There's a mental health corner, and it's all
Mm,
like, oh, anytime you're having any kind of issues or whatever, just send us a message on the tablet. We'll, see what we can do. It's just like all this. Like, we take it very seriously here.
yeah.
Once you're booked, they don't care. They don't. I mean, they don't respond to anything. I mean, it's
Mhm.
all they have to tell somebody that they're doing that. And that's
Yeah.
all that they do.
Yeah. Like you said,
And
it's lip service, all
yeah,
it is. And it's probably across the board in just about every city jail, every county jail across the nation, as well as prisons. Very few are progressive and really take care of the people who are in there.
yeah. And I
So,
mean, I wonder if it's. I don't know. I mean, I do. People have to have the capacity to think about this. I feel like, and be deliberate about it. But I mean, I think even still, even if the guards and stuff were, more, were just less shitty. I mean, still has to be policy in place, and whatever that is. I mean, obviously, they're getting some direction from somebody.
Right. And you keep mentioning policy. You've mentioned policy multiple times during our conversation. So that makes me think that policies need to be revamped, updated, revised, and then they need to have some independent oversight to make sure that policy is being adhered to. Because clearly, if these people are following policy based on your experience in the county jail here in North Carolina, which mimics my experience in solitary confinement back in the 90s in New York State prisons, it's the same damn near. So it's like
It's the same
there
everywhere.
needs to be clearer policy and greater oversight, man. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean,
You know.
see, the only thing, the guards. I remember a couple of the guards were like, because we have to have our, like, if we were in the day room, we'd have to have the doors closed. I guess it's like an in or out kind of thing.
Hmm.
And they were all concerned, like, oh, if we don't close the doors, they're gonna write us up and stuff. You know, they can create that kind of concern out of, like, hey, if you are treating, but I can't think of a specific off the top of my head, but that if the policy is, they're only concerned about, I guess it can be seen as like keeping everybody safe, but it's not. It's in a way that's at least somewhat, more protection from some kind of a lawsuit or something at bare minimum. And that's like,
Hmm.
that's all we do. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
But
And
at
then
some
going
point, it's
back
not going to be.
And then going back to what you said earlier, about control, I think it's also about power and control to let folks know who is in control and who isn't, you
Yeah.
know. But I have another question for you, maybe one or two other questions
Okay.
before we wrap up. But one, first, I have to say, Clint, man, I thank you so much for sharing your experience with me. And I need you to know that your voice matters. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to use this interview, but we're going to use it. It's going to be, for lack of a better term, bro, a weapon, against the regime that's hurting people through solitary confinement. One of our many tools. So I really appreciate you because this is not a discussion from yesteryear. This is from like yesterday, damn near, you
Yeah.
know. But one of the things I'd like to ask is what message would you like to perhaps convey to other people who might be going through a similar experience or as well as people who are in positions of authority who can make changes? What message would you like to convey to them?
I think as far as people who are in positions of authority, you know, I feel like when you go to work, a lot of times, depending on who you are and your disposition and everything, kind of can find every way to like kind of just streamline, kind of get in the airplane mode. And, you know, I just wish they'd remember, and I think that, whether they're doing it deliberately or not, they're like, well, these guys, probably did something shitty. So, I mean, I can, kind of put blinders on and stuff and just not be bothered. At best, some people are more sadistic than that. But I think, man, I just wish they would consider more actively, like that. And I mean, like, if you're trying to fix something, if you're trying to, I mean, if the idea is to get somebody to not be where they are, seems to me you do what it has to do in terms of punishing them, but you don't make them lose their faith in humanity.
Mm.
Like, and I don't think, I don't know. I'm not really. I don't think I necessarily answered your question. I just wish, because I'm sure outside all these guys, I doubt they act like that.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt they treat people like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just, and I don't really know what the answer to that is. I mean, maybe that is like, I don't know, man. I mean, maybe that's a whole nother conversation, I suppose. But as far as to anybody that's like, I don't know, man. How to say, thinking about anybody that's going through it, what I would say, they're not going to hear it. They're in a hellhole, and that's the whole thing. Is like, man, I don't know, but I mean, in terms of somebody that's gone through it,
Hmm. Well, they probably won't listen to just you or just listen to just me.
yeah,
But when we come collectively, my friend, they have no choice but to listen.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
The more voices we have, the more people who are involved with this movement, they're forced to listen.
yeah.
And so in saying that, man, I want to invite you to participate with our advisory committee. Don't feel obligated to do it,
No,
but
I'd like to do
I
that.
great, man. I'll put your email on our list serve, and I'll keep you updated on what we're doing. We meet bi-monthly, every other month.
Okay,
We just discuss strategies for trying to raise awareness about the harms of solitary confinement. And I think this call right here today is timely, bro, because most of my focus has been looking at state prisons. But I was thinking just a couple days ago, as I was thinking about this upcoming conversation with you, how people in city and local county jails are also suffering solitary confinement. And it's the same situation. So we have to fight for everyone who's being dehumanized in these conditions. And so I appreciate you sharing your story, man.
sure, man. I
Um,
appreciate you having me. Sorry, I was kind of ranting, dude. It's just good to,
bruh,
you know, talk about
bruh,
it.
it's all good. There's no ranting here. There's nothing. Look, I'm not accepting your apology because I don't
Okay,
think
okay.
it's
I take back my
necessary.
apology.
Yeah, take it back, bro. Save it for another time when apologies are needed.
Yeah, yeah,
You've
sure.
been through some shit, man.
Yeah,
So I understand that. But in closing, bro, I want to encourage you to seek some help.
yeah.
I don't know if you have any counselors or anything, but if not, I encourage you maybe find some counseling or find someone just to talk more with about what has happened to you and how it continues to haunt you. I've been out for 25 years. It still haunts me, man.
Imagine, man. I mean, what were you in there 4 years? Is that or more than that? 7 years?
Well, I was in prison for 8 years.
8 years. Okay.
I
Oh,
did
you were in.
two 30-day stints in solitary confinement within those 8 years. Well, there's people who are in there for multiple months, multiple years. One person who was the longest held in solitary confinement in a United States prison was a gentleman by the name of Alf. I think his name was Alfred or Albert Woodfox. He did 40 plus years in solitary, bro.
What did he? What was he like when he came out?
It's hard to say, but he had lots of community support.
That's
Um,
good.
he did a lot of speaking engagements when he got out, and I think he died, within like 4 years after getting out. But the fact he didn't die inside, but also the fact that he was held in bondage for so long is just not right. You know,
Atrocious.
Human
But
beings are not meant to be treated like that.
no, I mean, I think this is relevant too. I mean, there was a guy in there, 65-year-old man. He had said, he would. One time it was like, I think he said he was in solid. I'm pretty sure he said 9 months.
Hmm.
You know, and he's, kind of like, you know, I guess stoic would be the word. And not,
Hmm.
and he's like, I mean, I think it like fucked me up. Like, I mean, like, it's like,
Yeah,
he's not somebody who would, just be gushing about his feelings. Probably doesn't go to therapists and stuff, but he was like, it fucked me up, and
yeah,
the way he said it, I mean, I believe him.
yeah. Because these places they cause irreparable damage to the brain. You know, they cause irreparable damage to the emotional self. So I'm glad to be talking to you.
Yeah,
Um,
man, it was good talking to you. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks, man. So I'm gonna send you an invite to our upcoming meeting next month. You have my email. Feel free to reach out to me at any point. Don't hesitate, like thinking, "Oh, I'm bugging this guy," or "I don't want to bring." Yo, just get at me. All right,
All
just
right,
get
cool, man.
at me.
I
All right, man.
appreciate it.
All
You have
right,
a good rest
bro.
of your day.
Thanks. You too. Peace.
Bye.